Hey everybody, Jay Super Awesome here. I'd like to welcome you all to week 32 of the TheHORRORman's SlashBack Saturday Challenge. This week's slasher movie theme is multiple killer slashers, and I will be giving my review for American Backwoods Slew Hampshire. Okay, so getting into the plot for this one, Live Free or Die. In June of 1994, one of the most brutal mass slaughters in history occurred in the backwoods of northern New England. 4 months later, history is about to repeat itself. The end of summer signals the brink of manhood for a group of lifelong friends who proudly call New Hampshire their home. But when they embark upon a local rite of passage, traveling north for one final weekend of debauchery together, it just might prove to be their final weekend period, as this rite is doomed to go frightfully wrong. When they find themselves ensnared in a struggle for survival amongst a sinister hunting party, a bloodthirsty tribe, and a mythological beast, what began as a comedy of errors develops into an all-out Darwinian duel to the death, and less than 24 hours will pass before a slew of lives have been claimed and the last of the living remains. Okay, so getting into my thoughts for this one. With this week's slasher movie theme of multiple killer slashers, I chose to watch and review American Backwoods Slew Hampshire because not only does it have multiple killers, it has multiple groups of killers. So the first thing I wanted to say about this movie is I had a blast watching it. It's absolutely nuts. And this movie just does not care about your feelings. It definitely does have its own fair share of issues, but if you are a person who is sensitive to racial comments or even rape scenes, gay rape scenes to be more exact, then you might have a hard time getting through this one. To say the least, this movie's batshit crazy. It's like a mixture of Deliverance, Surviving the Game, and a 80s slasher film called Berserker, but all on a more extreme level. This movie overall feels pretty fast-paced, so you better be focused and paying attention. The way the conversations move from one person to another is like a rapid-fire blur of details and information. Even a lot of times, the scenes move from one scene to the next in almost like a rapid-fire pace. So that's why I say you really have to be paying attention because this movie's not messing around. And even if all of this isn't enough to take in, we do have a few scenes in this movie that slows down to a crawl. So the editing is a little all over the place. There's some artsy looking filmed parts that spread throughout the movie, just different scenes that sprinkled in from time to time. It seems like they were using different camera lenses or filters, and a lot of times these scenes are filmed from really odd angles, and it just is like an artsy style that I'm not really a big fan of. But with that being said, it does add a unique quality to the overall viewing experience. And I feel like this movie is definitely an interesting slasher movie to check out. It was put out by Midnight Releasing, and I'm a pretty big fan of Midnight Releasing. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about the cast of characters we have in American Backwoods Slew Hampshire. So I mentioned before that we have 3 different groups in this movie. The first being 4 guys who are good friends. They're wanting to have one last get together before they part ways and possibly not see each other for a long time or maybe never even again. So basically they want to party all weekend, so they decide to take a trip to a strip club. A strip club that they found out from a few shady looking people. Now, if this was me, I would never want to go anywhere near where these people had been. But that's just me. But with that being said, maybe there was a scarcity of strip clubs in this area, and these 4 guys were really desperate to get to a strip club. I'm not really for sure, but judging where the information was coming from, you knew right away that this wasn't going to end well for this group of friends. The second group of friends we have would be the rednecks, and they're pretty clever in the way that they are able to lure people to their area. All they want to do is to rape, turn loose, and hunt down and kill the 4 friends, and then rape them again. They also have a group of people that they are already holding captive, so it's pretty apparent that this has already been going on for a pretty good while, and they like to hunt people for sport. But of course their plans are interrupted by the third group, who are basically Vikings and not the purple ones from Minnesota. They are real Nordic Vikings speaking in their own language that we don't understand, so we don't really get a lot of information on this group because we don't get subtitles when they are speaking, and I found that to be pretty irritating considering they have pretty long scenes of dialogue. But my best takeaway from this group was they were very similar to the rednecks, but much cooler looking. Their motives were very similar to the rednecks, other than they hunted for food, and they seemed to be only interested in raping women so they could have them to reproduce. Overall, considering we have so many different characters in this movie, I thought the acting was pretty good for a low-budget slasher film, and a lot of these characters were really played over the top, and a lot of them were super annoying. But with that being said, I had an absolute blast watching the three groups, and pretty much an all-out battle royale style fight for survival. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about the most important part of a slasher movie, that is the killer and the kills. So I have already talked about the three groups of characters in my character section of the review. Basically, the way this movie is set up, it's a kill or be killed type of movie. We have killers in this movie who are natural killers. We have killers in this movie who kill for sport. And then we have our group of friends who are put in this horrible situation, and they basically have to kill to survive. There's a lot of killing going on in this movie by a lot of different people. But something else that I wanted to mention is that we actually have a monster that is roaming the forest, and a few scenes throughout the movie we actually see through its blurry eyes. And there's one scene that we get a pretty decent look at it, but unfortunately we don't really get many attack scenes from the monster throughout the movie. But the most disappointing thing about this movie to me overall would be not having the subtitles from the Vikings when they would speak. In my opinion, I feel like the Vikings might have been hunting this beast, but without getting any subtitles, there's no way of knowing for sure. But this is just my takeaway of the movie. Obviously, anybody can have their own opinion as to what this nutty movie is about. And as far as the kills go in this movie, it has a really high body count, and we also have a pretty wide variety of kills. We have a lot of blood and we have a lot of gore, but as I had mentioned before, you had better be paying attention because you won't see it for very long due to the very fast pacing of this movie. But overall, I did enjoy watching American Backwoods Slew Hampshire. It's not going to be for everyone based on some of the content, but overall I did enjoy it. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. Please like, subscribe, comment below. Let me know if you have seen American Backwoods Slew Hampshire, or just let me know what you think about my review. And I would like to thank you all for watching.